Sorry, minor glitch.
We are back, part two. As Revita's computer fell asleep on us there.
A little bunny nap.
So we're back. We left off with Jackson's versus Cologne. This was one the Jacksons really needed. Basically would have secured them a playoff spot.
Yeah.
They didn't get it, and this wasn't actually a very high scoring game. The final score in this one, Team Cologne 90.8 to Jackson 79. Team Cologne getting his 10th win of the season, and if he kind of controls his own destiny here. So if he wins next week, he will end in the #1 overall spot in the National Fixed League, and thus getting a bye. We'll get into the scenarios a little bit more, but at this point, and we'll jump into the next matchup here as we're just doing a quick recap. It looks like it's going to be Team Cologne and Down with the Cause getting those first round buys, or at least they're in control of their own destiny for that. Down with the Cause beat Tesla Motors 111.5 to 75.3. Not much of a competition there. I will say Tesla Motors, one of their 2 wins this year came against Down with the Cause. He mentioned that
First week of the season.
First week of the season. So the brother rivalry there, but Chad gets the best of him this time around, improves to 9-3, good enough for second in the league. And we also just touched on, we were touching on the top 2 spots.
Well, I think you think it has to be said for this brother matchup that it looks like Tesla Motors is the cornball brother of the family at the moment. He's the fake fantasy, fake cornball brother, and it looks like Down with the Cause is, the Marshawn Lynch of the brothers. Marshawn Lynch seems very gangster, quoting Little Boozy this weekend. And so...
No juice.
So more or less, Tesla Motors is the I almost called him Roger Griffin. Robert Griffin, so he's a cornball brother, dating a white girl, being a Republican. And down with the Cause is definitely Down with the Cause. So...
So now the only team that could really catch up to... either of those teams and gain a bye in the first round is Robbie Wright, who actually changed his name as of this morning. I believe it is Hit On 16, a blackjack reference. The gambling addiction, the gambling streak has just absolutely continued.
Right.
His foot is on the gas. Back at Rivers this morning, Revita, I believe you received an update at some point.
Yeah, I did. He didn't have the greatest day, so he kind of walked me through his hand that kind of ruined the day. So it was a we'll just leave it at it was a nice size bet, and apparently this dealer knew him, kind of from him being frequenting there pretty often recently, and apparently he an ace came out for him, and I guess then he had something to the effect an ace came out, and he was the only player at the table, and the dealer was showing a jack. His or not showing it. His ace came out, and then he must have got. He said he was sitting at 12, so he must have got a. What is that?
I think he said he got a 9.
A 9. Yeah, so he was sitting at a real ugly number. So, well, technically not if it was a 9 because you would just play the 20. But so I'm not.
I think your story's off. I just remembered ended with the jack and he busted.
Right, so he took the jack. He took a hit. We actually have the update. Oh, there was a 3. That makes sense. Yeah, so he had, and then he had to put a number down, and that's kind of a bummer. So, it was a sad moment for Robbie. Apparently, the dealer kind of told him that quote, with his luck, she thought there was no way that he wouldn't get a blackjack there. So, Robbie's let us know that he's going to ride this out, and if he loses 200 one more time, he's going to call it quits.
And he says that. I doubt that'll be the case. I'm sure he'll be back there again.
Right.
But, of course, keep the updates coming. We'll keep them coming to the rest of the league. But as far as Robbie Wright, also didn't have that much luck this week in a big game against Team Tone. This is one that Team Tone needed. He was sitting at 5-6, wanted to keep his playoff hopes alive, and he did. And he did so by achieving the week high, winning this one by a final score of 129.2 to 104.9. There were some antics going on just before the start of week number 12. Mr. Rod, you were involved in these antics.
I don't know what antics you're talking
and
about.
I just kind of want to get your train of thought behind the antics. So to give everybody kind of a little bit of a preface to the story, I was working on Saturday. And I was actually, and you'll see that there's a new league pull-up, and it's the top 60 draft picks. So, like, as far as value goes, who had the best pick. And I was actually considering Andre Ellington, the Arizona Cardinals running back, who's been a nice surprise this year. The people thought that he had potential around the draft time. That's a name that was being tossed around, but he's really come through. He gets a heavy dose of action every week. So I was, I kind of took a look at where he got drafted, was considering putting him in, and I knew that Rod had had him. But as I went to look up Andre Ellington, it said he was on Team Tone. And in my head, I kind of thought, wait, when did that happen? Like, I did not recall a trade. To my dismay, I returned to the league homepage.
Dismay.
And at 10:57 a.m., Rod had dropped Andre Ellington for one named Devontae Freeman.
Who's that? Oh,
He's
Falcons.
a real home run hitter.
Falcons, right?
And at 11:02 a.m., 5 minutes later,
Scalise.
somehow, by coincidence, Birdie had happened to hop
I got
on,
him for $1 too.
see that Ellington had just been dropped, place his waiver claim for $1 because he was certain that nobody would have bid on Andre Ellington, and had placed him on his own roster. Blatant collusion.
Yeah, that was cool.
I approached Rob by basically saying, that I couldn't care less at this point because I couldn't be any farther out of it. But my job as league commissioner is to kind of determine if there's any antics going on. It appeared that there were some that morning. Rod, I just wanted to get you kind of your thought process on that. Did you think that you guys were going to get away with it, or did you kind of expect somebody to stumble upon it at some point?
Well, my thought process is, I have said since the beginning of the league, I did not like any of the rules involved in this league.
In particular?
In particular, involving waivers. I didn't like the draft. I didn't like the waivers. Didn't like any of how this league was going. And, well, it's not my fault if you change ESPN's fucking rules and I take advantage of them. ESPN has their shit set up that you're not able to do that. I went in and did it. Hey, don't hate the player, hate the game.
Did what?
Fucking dropped him. Normally they wait on waivers for 2 days before anybody else can pick him up. I'm not the one that changed the rules, so you could drop him and somebody could pick him up 30 seconds
Oh, I
later.
didn't know that was even a thing.
Neither. I actually didn't know either. So, like, I didn't like.
Yeah,
like,
I didn't know.
like you're saying that,
I
like,
did not know.
you
that.
I'm not blaming you. I'm just saying.
Well, you're saying that like I knowingly changed.
No, I'm just saying
we
that
know that-
that's how it happened.
It's been well documented that you're not a fan of the waiver or the money auction type deal for picking up players. I didn't realize anything was.
And
actually
if anybody
wrong.
was pissed about that, I felt like it should have withstood. Like I said, I played by the rules.
Well, let me ask, why drop Andre Ellington?
Tony needed a running back.
Okay.
And,
Well,
and there it is.
You know that we cannot do that. We can't just drop Andre Ellington. And what kind of made the deal come full circle was that the player being dropped by Birdie was Doug Martin. So,
Oh, yay.
which is a whole other bag of tricks that seems to be brought up on this podcast weekly.
The old hockey trick. The old hockey trick. Dropping at 10:58, picking up at 11:02.
I mean, it was a good effort. I mean, I can't be mad at the effort.
Yeah, A for effort,
And this was
A for
after,
execution, F for
Hey,
completion, I guess.
It was planned out. We'd actually practiced this a few
How-
days earlier with some lesser known players that
Just to
nobody
see, like,
probably caught.
just to see if like you could, to see if
Yeah,
it
to
like
see if it would
worked.
work,
Yeah,
yeah.
right away. Yeah.
I didn't pick up on
He
it.
dropped
no.
a Redskins defense or something. I had him real quick and then dropped him 5
Well,
minutes later.
you might there's an outside chance you might have been able to get away with that had you not been trying to like ship off Peyton Manning for nothing earlier in the week. That race,
Those were some pretty good trades. I
they were
thought.
not good trades.
My roster needed a redo, and
A redo.
he needed a QB.
Well, I mean that's just something that we felt that we needed to address.
This roster looks like Chernobyl.
And then the last game to cover from Week 12, Revito, it was your game. It was a must-win situation against It's Only Smells, a big game for both teams. Smells getting the win, 122.9 to 83.2. I know that you've done the math. Your trade that got vetoed last week.
With Robbie.
With Robbie, a lot of people, I guess, thought Robbie was getting the better end of the deal there.
That was worse than any of mine.
Well, if the trade would have went through, Revito
I
actually
win the
would have
week.
won this week.
By like 12 points.
Um,
I would have set the week high because C.J. Anderson had 25, Anquan Bolden had 20, and I was getting the what's her face,
The dull Jay Cutler, I believe.
Cutler, who put up like third.
7.
Nah, he put
I
up
have
9.
on my other team. He sucks.
Well, this league's different.
Oh,
He
true.
put up 9.
Of
He put up
course it
9.
is. Of course it is.
Crunched the numbers, did the math. It's pretty straightforward. But I don't know. Whatever. I mean, it's like I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah,
at
our
this point.
team's all blow.
Yeah, I mean, his team looks like Chernobyl. My team looks like Mogadishu. It's
What's Mogadishu?
it's in Somalia. It's a place where you don't want to go.
Well, yeah, that's like
it's you know what? Your team is Chernobyl. Mine's Ferguson.
well,
Oh,
let's put it this
God.
way. I mean,
Current events.
all of us had vetoed trades over the past couple of weeks, and it's although maybe we would have benefited for a week or two in the long run, it just really wouldn't have mattered. because
Right. Yeah.
All of our teams. Blew.
I mean, it would have been fun to have like that first game in the playoffs for any of us, but whatever.
It is what it is.
Fuck the guru. That's all I have to say.
So let's go over the standings once again here. Let's just lay it out. Number 1 overall is Team Cologne, 10-2. We mentioned he's in control of his own destiny on win, and he secures that number 1 spot. However, if Team Cologne is to lose and the Cause is to win, and the Cause is number 2 overall sitting at 9-3, that would put them both at 10-3, and the way that it's trending, the Cause would have more points for, which I believe is the tiebreaker. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the Cause would jump Cologne
the
in that
hell?
scenario. Then we move down to the number 3 spot, which is hit on 16, Robbie Wright.
That's pretty. Is that assured or no?
No,
He's
if,
at 8-4.
If Down with the Cause loses, yeah, it's assured.
Yeah,
How much
'cause
does
down-
Smells
It's
doesn't have the
assured.
points?
He's down by 150
No, that's
points.
over.
It's
Yeah.
over. So
Okay.
So Robbie Wright's basically locked in at 3, barring a miracle.
if Fawcett loses, he's out too because he's down by 110.
Right, yeah,
So,
yeah.
From the horse's mouth, I've heard Robbie has blatantly stated that he hopes that he's hoping for a Cologne loss to Slambutsky for sure.
Am I playing Cologne?
Yes.
Well,
And
I will not be setting my lineup. So here you go, Fawcett.
claiming to not set his lineup. You could do it right now and just set it for
It's just gonna stay the same. It doesn't. If I put in AIDS player A versus AIDS player B, it doesn't really make a difference.
AIDS plus AIDS equals
But it will be a legal lineup.
AIDS.
Yes, it
Yeah.
is a legal lineup.
So more or less, it looks
It'll
yeah.
just not be game.
But I know Robbie was trying. I know everyone's trying to avoid playing Tesla Motor or not Tesla. Oh no, Down with the Cause. So
Yeah, that's kind of the
yeah.
end all be all right now.
yeah. So now it gets real testy
Yeah,
down in
and
that
it
6 and
starts-
6 and 6 and 6 and 6 and
Well,
6.
at number 4 right now, It's Only Smells is sitting at 7-5. Now, what would make it interesting there is if they lost, because then they would be at 7-6,
And everybody wins out.
and there's 3 teams below them, as we've previously mentioned: the Jacksons, Edelman, and Team Toner.
They have
all
the least
6 and
points.
6.
They could easily slip out of the playoffs.
They could go from 4 seed to out. Quick.
Yeah, and that is a good point. So these teams, we have 4, 5, 6, and 7 right now. That's a crapshoot. Anybody could really be in. Probably the safest team
Who-
is the Jacksons, just based off the fact they have the most
The
points.
points.
But
Yeah.
a loss, I mean, It's Only Smells has the advantage, obviously, in the win-loss.
Who does?
but,
Oh, Smells plays Cause. Oh, that's the matchup of the week.
yeah,
That'll
that's
just-
going
yeah.
to be a big one, and that's going to be a tough one for Smells. And I previously looked. So we have these 3 teams: Jackson's, Edelman, and Team Tone, all at 6-6. I was hoping that we could get a matchup between one of those 3 teams.
No.
Not the case, actually.
Any of them play one of you two? Because you're right there. At
I
5
play.
and 7.
I play. Scotty and Sean.
Okay, so you play Jackson, so you do
Right.
play him. I play Edelman, so I play a 6-6 team. And who plays Team Tone next week? Do we have that queued up?
Team Tone goes against Tesla Motors.
Oh.
So a favorable draw there.
Big
for
for 10.
That's a nice draw. Although Mikey Evans, he ruined my week last week. So
I mean, you can't sleep on Tesla Motors. That's the team that I mean, they got more points for than I do right now. So I have 3 more wins, but they also have more points. So you never know.
see in Smells, it's amazing that it's all the drafting happens and everything. You think your lineup the first day, you love it, whatever. Smells, I can only imagine. I don't know how many drafted players Smells still has on his team, but I think he has more drafted players on his bench than he does in his lineup. So imagine your fantasy season coming down to the following 3 players: Tanis Stiff, Justin Forsett, and Ryan Matthews.
I'm cool with Justin Forsett.
He had a good
Well,
game last week, but just look at the
He's a number 5
which is-
receiver in my other league. I don't know what he is in this, or
running back.
in this league.
So, but like just with the, we know how the NFL works with this,
Right.
the up and down weeks. It's just like Tana Stiff had a good week this week. It's like you wonder. It's like Smells could put up 50 points next week. His only sure thing, more or less, anymore is Macklin. Kelvin Benjamin hasn't played very well recently. Crowell had a good week last week, so it's like the Browns. Who knows?
You know what's interesting is you read down their roster. A lot of those guys were either traded for or picked up on the waiver wire. That's a team that doesn't look.
Close to what they drafted.
Yes, and so that's interesting setup there, and they're certainly fortunate to have another win under their belt. I'm referring
Right.
to Smells.
Smells.
Okay, yeah, he's number 7.
Set.
I
Is
would,
it
I
really?
would
That's
consider
pretty-
that to be a pretty sure thing at this point.
Yeah, but the NFL, unfortunately, as
Right.
we all know, is the furthest thing from a sure thing. But regardless, so this will be fun. This will actually be. Maybe it'll be a little stress free for the three of us in the car here to not have to watch. Apparently Rod's completely checked out.
Well, me and you are at 5 and 7.
There's no chance.
We would need like all these 6 and 6 teams to lose, and then we would need to like.
You guys also both have like
we
I
have
have 7.
the points.
very
7 points.
minor amount of points.
Yeah, the points for is really what kills us. Like we could end up tied for a record that makes the playoffs, but the points for will be the Achilles heel for us. So we're basically out of it unless something just drastic happens. The fantasy gods maybe look down on us for one day. That would be nice, but not realistic.
Right.
So, other than that, it'll be fun just following some of these games and kind of see who makes it. We will look to do a quick turnaround podcast and kind of set the playoff matchups out there and do our predictions and whatnot. So that'll be fun once the playoffs get underway.
Maybe we should do a quick something the day after Thanksgiving because there's some
Oh,
big
that's a
players
good
going
point.
Thanksgiving Day. So some of these not decided, but you'll have a decent outlook on some of these matchups.
You got what?
Probably.
Seahawks, Niners, Lions,
Bears,
and
we went over this on the way home, and I already forget the other one.
who do boys play?
Cowboys, Eagles. No AFC teams. Yeah, that's right.
Hold
Be-
up.
And
Hold up.
and a quick anecdote: Benny Zaleski, the 1% owner of Down with the Cause, claiming on the way home that he might have a little steam this weekend. He likes
does
the
that
Thursday
mean?
games. He's all in. He wants to watch these Thursday games. This kid's never wanted to watch football in 2 years.
Well, this is it.
And he's
because
all-
It's
yeah.
Thanksgiving. What else do you do?
Exactly.
So,
You go over
yeah.
to my aunt's house. Everybody's.
Aunt Sue.
Aunt Sue's house. You got my pap who's sleeping. You got dogs and kids running around everywhere.
You got Eric eating Pop-Tarts.
I will be eating a Pop-Tart or two. I'm not a turkey guy. We've been on the record.
I agree. I actually don't eat turkey.
I love
I'm not a
turkey.
Thanksgiving guy.
I eat
No.
everything.
I plan on going large this Thanksgiving. In my tummy.
Glad he's
Well,
back.
Rod, yeah. Well, while we have you, Rod, and you're back, and it's nice to see you as always. What's been going on with you? I know that we got some good feedback last time we had you on via phone regarding your Tinder antics. I know the league really got a good kick out of that. Do you have any recent stories? I heard something rather vulgar last night. I don't know if you want to necessarily say that one, but kind of what's been going on for you recently?
Nothing too crazy. Few kills here and there. I had a little incident on Halloween that was rather entertaining, but we've been riding the Crimson Tide a little bit on the last couple. Had a little stretch there, and let's hope to see this one come to an end.
Kind of a mean streak. so
A
to
little,
speak.
yeah.
A red streak.
A little,
But
And it happens.
happens to the best of us.
you win some, you lose some.
Yeah, you just had, it was a down week for the team. We'll put it that way.
man.
But I mean, yeah. So, we had a nice. Eric made the mature and correct decision to not go out Saturday night. There were some antics Saturday night. If people in the league haven't heard yet, there was a bout of emesis at the Hofbräu house.
What does emesis mean?
Vomit.
That was me.
That was Rod. But it was
Of course, it didn't stop there.
right.
Yeah,
so-
that was like an hour in. You texted me.
Right, so-
Yeah,
I was
drank
getting
it.
a live
I
feed.
drank a beer filled with chew spit off of the bar and went to puke a lot.
And then, which is interesting because Rod claims, and Drew, and I'm not, there's no reason not to, because I actually have never seen, I've seen Drew throw up more than like I've thrown up.
Rod,
But
you said Rubio actually enjoys throwing it.
He does. He gets a kick out of it.
who gets a kick out of burning their throat
He
with
loves
acid?
it. He loves it.
That's it. Whatever. But so, anyways, Rod had a bout, but he was perfectly fine. He gets back in the. By the time he kind of skedaddled, we pulled like a code red abort, and so we ran. They kind of ran out of the house or the Hofbra house, the Hofbra house, and I tried to corral David and Benny DeShiel, and corralling those two is like trying to herd a sheep. So and Brody will just follow anyone anywhere. So Brody thought that Benny was going to the bathroom. Benny was trying to find me. So Brody's in the bathroom washing his shirt in the sink because Rod had thrown up on it. DeShiel thought that a girl spilled a drink on his hand. Mind you, it was Rod throwing up on it. As we're walking to the bathroom, you hear the lady at the bar get on a walkie-talkie and giving like code, like we got a vom on the left side of the bar, the left wing of the bar. So I like looked over and here comes the guy. Like this
I was
guy
already out of there.
He was gone. Yeah, he was long gone. Rod, from puke to exit, 12 seconds flat, with a wrong turn as well. So then the lady come over and like there's nothing worse if you're working at Hofbra House on a Saturday night with 5 billion drunk kids. There's nothing worse than being the mop guy. This guy came over demoralized. Like the lowest point in your life
That's
is
rock bottom.
the lowest point in your life is like you put the mop in that little squeegee thing and you press it down and it's just you're looking at this vomit and it's just like
when you press down, there's like a little pause. There's
Right.
like a second or two to think about what's actually like
about
occurring
to
in your
happen. Yeah, and it's like, well, here I go again. It's puke again, and so. Yeah, so at least I guess this time it wasn't in the bathroom, which was maybe a good. Although they probably would appreciate it in the bathroom. So we left there. By the time we met up, we being the two amigos and myself, got back to the car. Rod had already changed his shirt and pants, and was eating Tostitos, which are still in the car back here. There's visual proof that there's still Tostitos.
life. There we are, and he's gonna actually have one right now.
These are going to be the most stale Tostitos. That didn't even sound
It didn't even-
appetizing. They didn't even
There
crunch.
was no crunch.
It was like a moist break.
Want some?
No. So, anyways, so then we go to Finn McCool's, and Rod was perfect. Brody ripped the toilet seat off the Finn McCool's
He
bathroom
turned into Hulk, I guess.
because he was going to throw up, and he didn't want to throw up on the
throw
seat.
up.
Yeah, he did. But instead of like just lifting up the seat, he like literally ripped it off and like threw it on the floor. And it was interesting. Met up with some Peters kids. The White Mare made an appearance. Those of you who know him, he was pretty bad.
Fell over a couple times.
Fell over twice. Let's just say
they were dropping like flies.
the night ended around 4:30 in the morning. We pretended like we were in New York City for some reason. We weren't. Rod woke up in bed with DeShiel.
Oh yeah, and in between all this, there was a hit and run.
Oh yeah,
Alleged hit and run.
yeah. There was a hit and run.
Which the police got involved.
Yeah.
Rod was giving out false home phone numbers.
No, I gave the right one eventually.
No,
After about 20.
Yeah, it was not good. Rod was mixing. You would get like 941.
Yeah,
I'd be like,
825.
Rod, no, area code first. You'd be like, okay, 724 941 825. I was like, no, that's not right. And the cop was like thoroughly amused. He like, I think if he had like, reward for us, he would have given it to us because he was so excited that I was sober driving.
We
But-
should upload your video to the.
You're the only one who has it now.
We
I had
should not
to.
do
Yeah.
I have it.
We should probably not do that.
But long story short, we thought there was a little bit of damage to the car. Apparently, Lori, the St. Kern, took the car to the car wash. After it went through the car wash, there appears to be 0 damage. So, charges were not pressed.
After you guys had reached out to the police,
After-
reported a hit and run.
Rod openly said to the cop that he wanted to press charges, which I said maybe you shouldn't do that. But, yeah. And then as we're doing this, up drives a taxi cab with a girl in it that I know. So I'm talking. Do you remember me running off?
Yeah.
I was talking to a girl in a taxi cab, tried to get another McChicken because I knew Rubio in the car had eaten all my food. And mind you, this is like pushing 3 o'clock in the morning. So then we get back to DeShiel's, who abandoned us down in the south side. DeShiel was back. It was just a night. That was a nightmare. And then
I had a good time.
the night apparently ended with Rod in this car dancing to Taylor Swift like for an hour.
You almost had to fight him.
Yeah,
Dude.
Rod was like not allowing me to go home to sleep. Like I had charged with a
I
deadline.
didn't want to be alone with Brody in the house.
Oh, that's what you sign up for when you. This is how this worked, Rod. Who do you want? Who should come out with us? I said, I don't know. Eric definitely won't. This was like 2 nights before. Rod says, well, we can get Brody, and I don't think my response was definitely not yay or
I
affirmative.
could actually read this responses and prove you very wrong.
Was I excited about it?
Yes, you were.
Oh well.
I said Brody mentioned he wanted to go out. If we want to go that route, we can invite him. You said definitely. I bat 100% when I go out with Brody.
That is true. I did not bat any. Well, I should have, but apparently, a long story. There was a convoluted story of girls we were going to meet, and one of them surprisingly would have been Brody's ex-girlfriend,
Which would not have turned out well.
which it's a good
Which
thing.
would have been great.
I mean, it would have
I
been.
mean, that would have been.
It would have been good food for thought.
I mean, Brody would have ended up in jail. That's. I mean, is there any question?
Well, we found
No.
this information actually out last night through a Snapchat that somebody saw asking me why I was hanging out with David Brody, like in a very condescending way. So when I asked, why do you know David Brody, and the name Carly Ferrier
Correct.
came up. And when I said that, it was me, Roderick, Eric, and Mendelson. And when I said this name that I did not recognize, these 3 looked like they just saw a ghost. Like the name like hit a nerve with everyone, and I was like, shit, like what? And then Brody proceeded to call a girl that he was dating.
He went a little nuts.
He went nuts, and he's trying to like, yeah, he more or less he was actually allowed to be upset at the girl, and then she flipped it around on him, and he like had no sack.
It's a little fun with the boys.
Yeah, so it was an interesting evening, and then Brody snapped today going to the gym, and we all told him to go fuck himself, and hopefully we get a little hiatus from
Yeah. So that's
from
where
him.
we're at.
It was an eventful 48 hours.
It always seems to be when Rod comes back home.
Right, there's nothing like...
He stirs up the pot. You
Right.
also had another encounter with the police, which was my understanding last night. You were a little hot coming down an Upper St. Clair Road.
Hey, I got a warning. That's
So he got
going
let
to see
off.
Dumb and Dumber 2. Don't waste your money on it. It sucked.
Really?
Was it bad?
It was bad.
Oh.
It was not good.
Oh,
Okay.
that's actually good. That's good
It's good to know.
advice. Yeah.
But so yeah, so there's been some events. Apparently tonight there may be a hangout with Rod again. So it's always these innocuous, the furthest thing from ominous nights, how they start to how they end. So it's like, let's just hang out at Rod's tonight. The boys are gonna come over, have a couple beers. Somehow this will turn into us banging on the Applebee's door at 2:01 in the morning trying to get late night food.
Oh.
And somebody urinating in public. Like, this is without fail, like, one of those 2 things
Well,
will
Drew's
happen.
coming out with us.
So vomit in public.
No, urinating's also good.
Okay. It's a good bet.
Yeah, it is.
Any bodily fluid.
But, yeah, so, I mean, this week we saw way too much of Brody in, like, lime green spandex Saturday or Sunday morning. Like, it was just but,
Right.
I mean, this is the probably the last St. Clair parking lot podcast of the year.
This is it, and it's kind of sad. We have come full circle with this, as our first podcast ever was in this parking lot. Seems like it was yesterday.
With a debauchery and that one too, with a meeting that wasn't supposed to happen or whatever, and
You know.
we feel like these.
Fortunately, we got through this one unscathed,
Yeah.
and we made it through start to
Let's not
finish.
count our chickens yet.
No, it's not.
But
I need to head back into my shift here.
this kid's getting paid to talk on a webcam. But so yeah, so the boys are actually heading up to Penn State this weekend. We'll give you a little preview of what we're gonna do. Mayhem. Rod has apparently bought a handle of Evan Williams honey,
Bring him up too.
which makes me just want to cringe hearing it. I
tastes
said
like
I'm
candy.
sticking to beer.
Tastes like candy. It's good.
Yeah,
It's
every
delicious.
time Rod says anything tastes like candy, that couldn't be further from the truth. He's sitting in this seat drinking fire water on the way to Hoffer House. Maybe that's why you threw up.
No.
Okay. Maybe it was the stale chips.
No.
Maybe a combo of both.
Maybe he has AIDS. I don't know.
No.
But that's a fair statement at this point.
AIDS now.
So is your number now at 26 or 27? Are you Lev Bell?
5.
Jamal
25.
I'm
Charles?
Jamal.
Still? Okay.
The vamper didn't bang.
The Vamp.
Quarter of a century. That's
Yeah, I mean that's a good statistic. You've
I mean that's
run the quarter mile in Centurion
All right.
terms.
All right.
So,
I mean
but yeah, so we're gonna watch some Penn State Michigan State.
Hoping for a rig.
Hoping for that late afternoon 3:30 rig. We have seats that are, I don't know.
No.
We don't even know where they are. They were delivered today. They have a nice little Penn State logo on them.
All right.
So
Well,
we'll wrap this up.
Yeah, we've done enough rambling here. Everybody out there in the league, have a great Thanksgiving. Enjoy the football games. Of course, best of luck to those who are still competing for a playoff spot. And we will be back with you next time. Week 13 recap, final week of the regular season. Boys, got anything to send us off with here?
Yay, Ferguson. Good ruling.
I'm just going to go home and jerk off now, probably. I didn't get to this one.
And there you have it. The classic, he couldn't do his wake and yank. So he's heading home to do that now for those of you who are interested.
The wake and crank. So yesterday apparently he was foiled by he was not allowed to do it yesterday because he said, quote, "My sister woke me up." Like what?
And he was frustrated about that too.
That apparently perturbed him. But yeah, so
Right before bed last night.
what are you, like a camel? Like I mean, like you can give it a break every
A
once in a
crank a day keeps prostate cancer away.
And we're gonna end it with that.